So, how do you become a better piano player? Well, I like this question because it's one of those questions that are simple, simple questions, but it's much more complicated, a little bit more complex than, to get down to the answer for that. But I'm going to get down to it and give you all the tools and the proper way to frame this question in order to come up with the appropriate answer for your own particular situation. That sounds like a mouthful, that's really confusing, so we'll make sure to clear that up. Thanks for joining me on today's live stream. It's a piano live stream happening every Saturday afternoon. Today, we're going to be talking about how to become a better piano player. And then this one's going to be a little bit all over the place. I actually wanted to, I was thinking about postponing this live stream until next week just because I had a lot of stuff going on this week. Just super busy, super frustrating week, but just not able to get the work done that I wanted. So I usually do like an outline or I have a little basic script to follow for this one, but today I don't, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it for you. So please bear with me here. Now, if you're thinking about something like, this question here, how to become a better piano player, you really have to think about what it means first. What we call this reverse engineering. That's a pretty popular term. So it's just figure out what kind of piano player you want to be first and then develop those skills, because you can't simply just, there's no one standard for what is a good piano player. Okay? So you have to figure out what you want piano to be for yourself. I mean, are you going to just do it for fun, or are you going to try to make a career out of it? It's going to be something like as a side hobby, maybe a possible gig. That's going to really depend. And it's like, what kind of skills do you want to develop? There's a lot more than just playing the right notes at a fast speed. Okay, for instance, let's go down the list, and I'm going to try to just brainstorm the entire list of, I guess, career options or choices that might be available for getting good at playing piano. So you could be a solo piano player, whether or not you just specialize in classical music or other types of genres. That's a little bit different, but let's just call it soloist, right? The other one is an ensemble or like a chamber music player. So you're playing with other groups of musicians. You're not the only one. So a lot of piano quartets, quintets, piano trios, things like that. So you're playing with other musicians as a group. You could, what's another one? You could be just like someone playing at your neighborhood church, like a choir, accompanist. Maybe you're a jazz pianist that does both solo and like big band or group rep. I don't really know the genres of jazz, but let's say you're also collaborating with other jazz musicians as well. You have your own group, like a jazz trio, a jazz quartet, whatever you want to call it. So already with that, there's a lot of different distinctions you have to make, and I haven't even talked about piano teaching. Because even if you go down to piano teaching, just because you become good at playing piano, you're just going to teach what you know. So every teacher that you even go to is going to offer a different type of experience as well. I know I do for my own personal studio, right? So you have to figure out which one of those you want to be. Okay? If we go down the list, let's say if you want to be a soloist, it depends on what kind of music you want to perform. If you want to play like the hardest, most difficult classical pieces out there. When I say classical, I'm including like the whole genre of Baroque, maybe Bach, Beethoven, Chopin, Liszt, all that. Are you trying to play that at the highest level, or you just want to do something a little bit simpler than that? Because if you want to play something like Bach, it's not even Bach. Let's just like really difficult, challenging stuff, like a Rachmaninoff, like an etude or something like that, right? Then your technique is definitely going to have to be on point. So you're gonna have to the whole mechanical part of it. Lots of scales, lots of just technical exercises to be able to just play to be able to play the music at the proper speed. Not only that, you have to be a good performer. We're not even talking about experience here. So you have to be an experienced performer, do a lot of live concerts. Or are you just doing this for fun? like for a group of people, or are you trying to get paid, right? So that's another difference with that. Let's talk about being a choir or just being an accompanist. And let's say accompanist stands for just someone who accompanies a person on whatever instrument that they might have, or someone who might be an accompanist for a choir, or you just might be part of an ensemble. That's a total different skill set than just to be able to play as a soloist. If you're in an ensemble, you also have to not only be able to play what you play well, but also be able to collaborate. Because, you know, for myself, I don't really get a lot of collaboration opportunities at all. And when I do get, you know, accompanying gigs here and there, like, I really have to prepare well, because it's just, accompanying isn't something that comes natural to me. But if I accompany on a more regular basis, like if I did it every day, of course I would get better at that too, you know. But accompanying is totally different. You have to be able to follow the other person well. And we were just talking about one person. With a group, it's a little bit different. There's like the whole group dynamic. So if you want to become a better, you know, musician, like jazz, or let's say classical, like, you know, in an ensemble, that's a lot of group experience. You have to get the way to get better at that particular career is like you have to get a lot of experience playing with a bunch of different musicians, right? We're not even talking about different instruments here, because to accompany like a vocal singer is totally different than someone who might play an instrument. It's not the same thing. So that style is different. That approach is different as well. Even with the instruments, so these branches, you know, starting to form here. You can see how complicated it can get, but you also see how specific you need to be with your, you know, what exactly do you want to get better at with piano. So let's say even with jazz, or let's go back to, you know, a choir accompanist or someone who is involved in jazz. You're gonna have to be good at playing by ear, most possibly. You know, I don't think there's any question about that. It's something I'm not really even able to do well at all, which is why I'm not really an active accompanist with you know, choirs or jazz or anything like that. I'm not good at playing by ear, but you know what I'm good at? I'm you know, in my own lane here. I know how to play a lot of different classical music, and I can, you know, learn the pieces and perform it, and not only perform some covers, but also be able to do some piano tutorials for you on this page, right? Yeah, so like your approach, depending on where you go with your musical life, is going to be totally different. And think of it as, what's a good example here? Let's take sports, right? Being a good basketball player. How do you become a better basketball player? You have to start with, what position do you want? Or you want to be a center, right? You want to be the big man? You want to be a point guard, right? You want to be like, I don't even know these things. But let's say even with football, right? You want to be on defense. You want to be on offense. What part of the offense? What part of the defense? You know how many positions there are out there? I mean, you want to be the quarterback. That's like being a conductor, right? So even with piano, I think of it the same way. So many different roles within that. If piano was a sport, you would have to think about, what position do you want to go for? Okay? So start with that. Figure out what exactly it is that you want to be as a performer, and then you'll go out, and then it'll be much more clear the types of skills that you need to hone in on. Now, I will say 2 skills I think super important. And by the way, the amount of theory you need to learn is totally different as well. Like unless you want to be a theory teacher, right? But I'm not even going to go into that. But if we're talking about, what were we talking about here? All right, let's talk about at least the core things that you need to work on within all of these 2 areas in music that you practice. It's going to really pay you dividends no matter what field that you are in, and that's to be able to play well. You don't want your technique limited, right? You might be able to play something by ear if you get to that point, you know, but if you look at the music and it's like beyond the range of what you can play, then you're gonna have to fake it easily, right? You have to make something more complex into something super simple. Not because you have that skill set, but to do that, but because you simply can't play it. It's out of your reach. Vice versa, maybe you're someone who's able to play really well, but you know, when the accompanist or someone you're working with, they get lost, like, are you able to find them on the page? Are you able to improvise while they get back to where they're supposed to be? Because, you know, you're not going to get better at that just by playing sheet music here. Okay, so to me those represent the 2 core skills at least that will, you know, help whatever field you're in. So we're talking about just like pure mechanics, being able to play anything on the piano as well as possible. Anything is a little vague, but you know, just it's like 90% of the stuff is not out of your reach. You're able to play really difficult pieces, right? And the other core skill that you need to work on, this is something I've started working on very late in my life, by the way. I should have done this from the start if I had better piano teachers, but I'm not going to complain about that. It's playing by ear. It's being able to, I guess, a little bit of improvisation. And, those two, I believe, are the most important things. And besides that, just to add another layer of complexity to it, you have to figure out what are the ratios within the skills that you want to practice. How much time do you want to spend practicing on pure mechanical, technical stuff? How much time do you want to be spending practicing on, playing by ear? Like for me, it's the ear training represents about 5%, 95% of my own daily routine when I practice. It just goes toward technical stuff because I want to be able to play stuff faster. It's a kind of funny, corny goal, but that's a goal for me. I don't want to be held back by the speed of a piece, because they say you can play anything well as long as you play slow enough. But for me, it's like, I don't want to make that compromise. I want to be like a professional. I want to be professional level. So that's my goal. The same thing with you. If you want to be more of an accompanist and you need immediate goals, then you're gonna have to work most of your time on playing by ear and getting better at improvisation and stuff like that. So about maybe 80% of your time can go in there, and then 20% working on mechanics and whatnot. So although those ratios are going to be skewed one day or one way or another, right? You're going to do most of your time on pure mechanics or like ear training. I think those are the two core skills that are going to help you no matter what. Okay. One last story why this is important is because I used to know somebody, I'm not going to name any names at all. This is just as a story. I really have no opinion about it. Because I'll give you an example about me, but let's start with this guy. He was an amazing accompanist. But what I noticed, he wasn't really a strong solo performer, Like he was an amazing accompanist. He was really, really popular, really highly sought after. But when it came down to a solo repertoire, it was just lacking. Like the technique wasn't there to do something like that too. But this I was like, how could this be? Like I had to think about this for a while. But so just because you're good as a solo performer player, it does not mean you're going to be good as an accompanist and vice versa. Like for me, instance, like I'm not saying I'm a good solo player, but I'm a much more adept solo player than I am an accompanist. I'm just not a good accompanist because I don't have a lot of experience. If I did get more experience, I might have something different to say. But my solo performing skills are way better than my accompanying skills. So I hope that's one last example that will kind of help you illustrate and maybe define your goals clearer. Okay? Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got for today. I'm sorry it's not more organized, but it's better than skipping. So. Thanks for joining me. If you learned something today, please hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share this video. And until next time, have a great rest of this weekend. I will see you guys next time, and happy practicing.